In the case of animals, the muscle cells, they are responsible for causing the movements. The nerve cells, they are responsible for the signal conduction, isn't it? They carry the nerve impulses. And blood is responsible for transportation of gases. So you see that if we talk about muscle cells, if we talk about nerve cells or blood, every single component of our body has its own function to perform. Now, this division of labor can be found in the plants also. Plants also have the same thing because plants are also mostly multicellular, right? So in the plants, there are two tissues, that is xylem and phloem, and both of them are having their own functions to perform. For example, if we talk about the xylem, so the xylem is responsible for the conduction of water and the phloem is responsible for the conduction of food. You understand the meaning of conduction?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me, what would be the meaning of conduction?
Maybe like
In terms of this
process,
sentence.
process.
Process, or more like a
Yeah.
transport,
Yeah.
right? Meaning the xylem is transporting from one place to another, it is transporting water, and phloem from one place to another, it is transporting food. You getting my point? Hmm.
Yes.
Also, see, wherever you have any doubts, you can ask me. Okay, don't be shy, don't
Okay.
hesitate. If you have any doubt, even if it is a silly doubt, then also you can ask. You have that liberty. Okay. All right. Now just don't sit with the doubt. Ask the doubt and clear it. Okay. Now, the cells, they form a group, and the group of cell is called as the tissue, right? Now, the example of tissue is blood, muscle, epithelium, and there are so many examples of tissue. Now, sometimes, like not actually sometimes, but slowly, when the organisms from the lower organisms goes to the higher organisms, the tissues also, they start forming a group because they have to form an organ. So the tissues, they come together and they form an organ, such as we have the eye, we have the ear, we have the lungs, right? So the tissues, when the tissues are coming together and forming a group, they are forming an organ. And then, do you think that the eye alone is able to function? Like
No.
your eye alone, can it function alone?
No.
What else does it need?
Nerves.
Nerves, correct? And
Blood,
correct,
tissues,
correct. And what else? Like what is this eye connected to?
brain.
Brain. Without brain, even if you see anything, will you be ever able to recognize?
No.
No, nothing, right? So the eye alone or the lungs alone or the kidneys alone, they can't function alone. So now the organs, they come together and then they form a group, and that is known as the organ system. Now, for example, if we have muscular system, so all the muscles are working together in the muscular system, right? Muscles associated with the blood and associated with the bones also. Then there is reproductive system in our body. Then there is excretory system in our body. Then digestive system is also there. Also breathing, circulatory, nervous, all of these are the different kinds of systems that are found in our body. There is also a skeletal system. I haven't written here, so I'll write it. Skeletal system. So all of these systems are present in our body. So now you know what are the levels of organization. We start with the cell, then comes the tissue, then comes the organ, and lastly comes the organ system. So these are the levels of organization. Clear?
Yes.
Any doubts?
No, no.
Okay, good. Now we know that plant and animals, they are very different from each other. So if we talk about their cells or the cells that are present in them, they will also be very different from each other, isn't it? Now, if I ask you to differentiate plant and animals, what would be the first difference that you would give? Plant and animal. How can I differentiate them both?
Uh, Plants breathe through stomata.
Okay. And animals?
Animals
What do we breathe through?
Breathe through lungs.
Okay. Go to the most
Uh,
basic level. If you start at the most basic level, then what would be the difference in between them? Like when you look at an
mm,
animal and you look at a plant, how do you know that that is animal and this is plant? One can
no,
move, one cannot move. Can plants move?
no,
Do you have plants at home?
yes,
Imagine your plants, you kept it on one window and then you find it on another window another day. How creepy would that be? So plants cannot move, right? They cannot move from one place to another, but animals can. Do you have a pet?
no,
No, you don't. Okay. So if you had a pet or if you have seen all of these animals, you see that they move from one place to another. So this is the one most basic difference, isn't it? Now, let us see what are the differences. Now, plant tissues or animal tissues, let us see the differences in between that. Now, see, if we talk about the plants, we know that plants do not move. So, whatever tissues are present in their body, they will not be responsible for supporting the movement. Rather, they will help the plant to, you can say, to support them to stay erect. Like they have to stand straight on the ground, isn't it? If they bend like this, if they like sleep on the ground, then what will happen? They'll not get enough light. So the tissues that are present in the plants, they have to be in such a way that they support the plant. Clear?
yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, animal tissues, they did not do not need to be supportive tissues. The tissues in the case of animals, they are different. How are they different? Because these tissues, they support the movement, right? They support the movement and not support the stationary position. Then the next thing is that the supporting tissues, they are made up of dead cells mostly. Because to provide mechanical strength, the tissues have to be dead. But in the animal, there are no dead tissues found. In plants, you will find several dead tissues. And in plants, whenever a tissue dies, then that tissue becomes supportive in function or has certain storage properties. Now, plant tissues are not very specialized as compared to the animal tissues, whereas the animal tissues, they are very specialized. Specialized meaning they are very specific as to what functions they have to perform. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now talking about the plant tissues. So these are the various kinds of plant tissues that you can see. I made a flow chart of it. So the plant tissue can actually be divided on the basis of their ability to divide. Like if I ask you to divide anything, I give you 5 notebooks. Okay, 5 different kinds of notebooks, and then I ask you to divide them accordingly. So what all criterias would you see before dividing them? Some of the criterias you might
Name,
see. Hmm.
name, subjects,
Yeah, you'll see the name, then you'll see the
classes.
subject. You'll also see the number of pages in that book, isn't it? All of these things,
Yes,
meaning to divide anything, we have to keep a basis of division. There has to be some criteria, right? If I divide, for example, there is a class of students and I want to divide students on the basis of their performance in the test. So I'll divide it into the like weaker students who are not scoring well, and I'll divide it into stronger students that are scoring well, isn't it? So no matter whatever is the division, you always need some kind of basis or some kind of criteria for division. So same way, when we are dividing the plant tissues, so we divide them according to the ability to divide, whether it can divide or not. So if the plant tissues can divide, we call them as meristematic tissue, meaning they divide throughout the life. And if the plant tissue has lost its ability to divide, meaning it cannot divide anymore, then we'll call the plant tissue as the permanent tissue. So this is the first division on the basis of like their ability to divide, whether they can divide or they cannot divide. Clear? Now further, this meristematic tissue has been further divided into 3 types depending upon their position. where it is present. So there is apical, intercalary, and lateral meristem. Now this is just the introduction. I'll be dealing all of the tissues in depth. So don't worry, okay? This is just the introduction. Now, the permanent tissue, it is also divided into two types on the basis of types of cells that are found in them. So simple permanent tissue is there and complex permanent tissue is there. Now, the simple permanent tissue is of three types: parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. Whereas the complex permanent tissue is of two types, that is xylem and phloem. So this is the whole entire division of the plant tissues that you have to study, right? And like the various parts of the tissues that are there and the various functions that they have to perform. Okay? Any doubts up until now?
No, ma'am.
All right. Okay. Now moving forward, I'll tell you what are the position in the biology. See, this is going to help you always, forever. See, positions in biology, like how we say front, back, up, right, left, isn't it? So same way, biology has its own names of the position. Now, normally we say back, but in the terms of biology, we say dorsal position. Anything that is dorsal is like it is referring to the back side of it. Anything that is ventral, meaning the front side of it. Clear? Then anything
Yes.
that is at the apical part means at the tip. At any of the tip is known as the apical part. And then anything is, when it is at the sideway position, then that becomes the lateral position. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
So these are the positions in biology, and you will know why we are talking about it. Now see, we are going to discuss about the meristematic tissue in details now. See, the meristematic tissue, as I told you, they are of three types: apical meristem, intercalary meristem, and lateral meristem. Three meristematic tissues are there. Now, as I told you, apical meristem. So the word apical is coming. What do you think? Where will it be present?
In front,
Apical.
back,
See here.
in
Apical, tip,
tip,
at the tip, right? So at the tip position, like the tissue that is present at the tip, we call it as apical meristem. Now the tissue that is present at the side will be called as the lateral meristem. And then intercalary, I will teach you what it is called. Okay? Where is it present and why is it present? Any doubts up until now?
no, ma'am.
All right. Okay, now you do one thing. Normally, I don't allow my students to take screenshots, but you can take screenshot because now we'll continue the class. So you take the screenshot and make the notes. Okay, don't keep the screenshot in your phone or laptop. You take the screenshots and after the class is completed, you take it down in your notebook. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes. So tell me once you're done, I'll scroll it.
Ma'am, can you scroll? Ma'am, can you scroll? Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Tejas. How are you?
Fine, ma'am. How are you?
I am also good. Astitva, how are you?
Yes, ma'am. Fine, ma'am.
Okay, good. Are you people studying?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very nice.
Ma'am, can you scroll?
Yes, Safia. Okay, students, are you having any difficulty in the topics that we have already discussed? Tejas and Astitva?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay. What is the last thing you people have written in your notebooks?
Let me check.
Check it and tell me. Done, Safia?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, can you scroll?
Ma'am, we have looked into apical meristem functions and orbital functions. No, intercalary meristem and its functions.
Intercalary and its function. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let's just wait for everyone to join and then I'll start the class. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay. Ma'am, this class is for 1 hour or 1 hour and 30
1
minutes.
hour. 1 hour.
Okay. Okay.
When is your exam starting, students?
Ma'am,
Yes, yours, Tejas. When does it start? And Astitva, what about you? When does your exam start?
Ma'am, dates are not given.
Okay, not yet given. So you people celebrated Raksha Bandhan today?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you people wearing your Rakhi? Show me.
I'm not till now.
You're not wearing?
I'm not till now.
Okay.
Ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
I can see, Astitva, I can see.
Ma'am, for me, my science exam is on 29th.
29th August,
No, ma'am, September.
September. What is your portion?
Ma'am, for biology chapter 5, for biology chapter 5 and 6, and in
Chapter 5
sixth
and
chapter
6,
68 to
the
73
unit
page
of
number.
life and tissues.
Yes, ma'am. And in tissue 68 to 73 page number.
Can you check in your book and tell me what is on 73 page number?
Okay, ma'am, let me check.
Done, Safia?
Yes, ma'am.
You can take the screenshot of this also.
Ma'am, actually my book ends on 69 page number.
It ends on 69 page number.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, last is muscular tissue.
Muscular tissue. Okay. And basically, plants and animal tissue both are coming in your exam, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. No problem.
I
We
think
still
in my
have
class
1 month.
they are using old book and I'm using new book. That's why.
Okay. Oh, very good. Today everyone is switching on their videos as soon as they're joining the class. Very nice.
Ma'am, so today we are going to discuss
We're going to
epithelic
discuss more
meristem,
about
epithelic
systematic
tissue.
epithelial. No, not today.
So,
But we're going to discuss about the plant tissues only. Irshad, I was
okay.
just talking about the syllabus and the test dates. Have you gotten your test dates?
Now what, ma'am?
No, I'm talking to Irshad.
Okay, ma'am.
Have you received the test dates?
No, ma'am, not yet.
Okay, I was discussing about that. You have not missed anything. Okay, Sarah, are you there in the class?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay, switch on your video. Okay, very good. All right. So let us do a quick recap of the meristematic tissue. Now, students, tell me all of you, if I say dorsal, then what is the position I mean? Dorsal means which position?
Ma'am, front.
Front?
Front.
No. Dorsal means back. And if I say ventral, then which position am I talking about? Front. And what if I say lateral?
Laterally side.
Side.
Lateral side.
Everyone knows?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
And what if I say apical position?
Tip,
Tip of the plant.
Okay, very good. Tip up. Okay. All right. Good. Now let us talk again about the characteristics of meristematic tissue. We know that meristematic tissues are those tissues that are capable of dividing indefinitely, meaning they can keep on dividing and dividing. Now the cells of the meristematic tissues, they are thin walled. Okay, they have a very thin wall present and they are made up of cellulose. Now the meristematic tissue, what happens is that it divides very actively, and this is the tissue because of which the plant grows in terms of length and in terms of thickness. So the plant will grow longer and it will grow broader because of the meristematic tissues that are there. Now the cells of this tissue, they are in active stage of cell division. That is why they are capable of dividing and dividing as many times as they can. Now, they may or may not contain vacuoles. Like vacuoles is not necessarily present in them. Why? Because vacuoles, they have a function to store stuff. But since these tissues are constantly dividing, they don't need any storage. So that is why they may contain vacuole or they may not contain vacuole. Now, the shape of the meristematic tissue, it varies. So it is of spherical type, oval type, polygonal, rectangular. So you will find variety of shapes of the meristematic tissues. Now moving forward, we are going to discuss about the different types of meristematic tissue. Now the first type of meristematic tissue is the apical meristem. Talking about the apical meristem, so the position of this tissue lies in the name only, right? Apical. Apical means at the apex part, meaning at the tip. So it is located at the growing tips of the stem and the roots, and even on the branches and the axillary buds. So this apical meristem is present everywhere, mostly in the tip portions of the plant. Now, who will tell me what is an axillary bud?
And it's between the leaves and the stem.
Between the
Leaves and stem.
what? I am there. Between the leaves and the stem, what is there? Anyone can answer. It's okay. You can try. Give your answer. And those of you who don't know the answer, I'm just waiting that why aren't you people asking me? If you don't know, then ask me. How many of you know the answer? None of you. And no one is asking. No one is like, ma'am, please teach us. See, students, whenever you have something you don't know, please ask the teacher. I want, whenever I'm saying one sentence, if that sentence has 5 words that you don't understand, ask me, or else you'll never understand. Okay, so that is why. Now see, if I draw a plant, this is a flower and this is the stem of the flower. Now from the stem arises the leaf, right? And the angle that is formed between here, do you see this? There is an angle. This angle you see, mostly, or like it is 90 degree in most of the plants, but it doesn't matter whatever is the degree. This angle that the stem branch is forming with the stem, this is what we call as axil. And the bud which will come at the axil, that will be called as the axillary bud. So the axillary bud also has the apical meristem present. Now is it clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Everyone
Yes, ma'am.
who can explain what I just said? Who can explain what I just said? Students, not even 1 minute went by. Not even 1 minute went by and you can't explain what I explained you. Who can explain axillary bud to me? No one? Don't hesitate. If someone can, you can speak in your own way also. Just explain it to me. Astitva, would you like to explain axillary bud?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Ma'am,
Hmm.
axillary bird is, I think, as per before I know, and it's an orogenic, uh, orogenic shoot in between the leaf and the stem. Like it's located near the leaf, and between the stem and the leaf, the
Yes, correct. You're
90
right.
degree forming,
Yes,
uh,
yes.
it's called an axil, and that
Hmm.
whole part is called an axillary bud.
No, no, no. No, that not the whole part. The bud which will be formed at the axial position will be called as the axillary bud. Very
Yes.
good. Okay, very good. Now let us look at the functions. So the function of this axillary bud, or sorry, apical meristem, is that it enables the root and the stem to grow by increasing the length. It increases the length of the root and it increases the length of the stem. So we know that root is present below the ground and shoot is present above the ground. So it will cause the stem to grow taller and taller and the roots to also grow longer. So that is the function of apical meristem. Any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I'll write this also. Bud present at the axis is the axillary bud. Now, let us move on to the next type of meristematic tissue, and that is intercalary meristem. Now, intercalary meristem is that tissue which is present at the internode. Internode is the position in between two nodes. Now, see, node is a position from where the leaves would arise. The point from where the leaf arises is known as the node. So, for example, if another leaf is arising from here, so this is also a node and this is also a node. The tissue which will be present in between the nodes, in between two nodes, we'll call it as the intercalary meristem. Clear? So that is what the intercalary meristem is. So intercalary meristem is located at the internode, that is between two nodes of the stem region, and this is between the places at which the leaves would attach. Talking about the functions, so the cells, they are active and they continuously form several new cells and increase the length of the plant. So intercalary meristem also is constantly dividing, repeatedly dividing. And what does it do? It increases the length of the plant. So both the tissues, that is apical meristem and intercalary meristem, they have the function to grow the plant in terms of length. Now, talking about the lateral meristem. So, the lateral, what is the lateral position, students?
Sides.
Side.
Very good. Sideways position. So, the meristematic tissue which will be found on the sideway region of the roots and the stem, we'll call them as lateral meristem, meaning they are lateral in their position. And talking about their function, so now they have a unique function that they are responsible for the growth of the plant in terms of thickness or girth or diameter. Now, when we talked about apical meristem and we talked about intercalary meristem, we saw that the plant is growing like this, right? Increasing in terms of length. But when we talk about the thickness or the girth or the diameter, it means that the plant is growing in breadth like this. Breadth means thickness, right? So these tissues, that is the lateral meristem, they will be responsible for the growth of the plant in thickness. See, the word thickness, the word girth, and the word diameter all mean the same thing, meaning making the plant broader. The first two tissues were making the plant longer. This tissue will make the plant broader. So with this, we have actually completed the meristematic tissues. Any doubts?
No,
No, ma'am.
All right, very good. Now talking about the permanent tissue. The next type of tissue is the permanent tissue. Now who can tell me how is the permanent tissue different from meristematic tissue?
the permanent tissue doesn't divides.
Very good, exactly. The permanent tissue, it has its name because it has lost the ability to divide. It cannot divide anymore. So that is why we call it as the permanent tissue. Now, these tissue, they originate from the meristematic tissue only. Like, they are not different tissues. Initially or in the beginning, they were like simple meristematic tissue. But then what happens? That after a while, they take up a permanent position, a permanent, you can say, function, right? So the different types of permanent tissues are formed from the differentiation of the meristematic tissue. So permanent tissue is formed from the process called as differentiation. Now, what is differentiation? So it is the process of taking up a permanent shape, permanent size, and function. So those meristematic tissues that undergo, or you can say that went under the cell differentiation, meaning they are now assuming a permanent shape, size, and function. So we call that as permanent tissue, meaning it has undergone the cell differentiation. Any doubts up until now, students?
Hmm.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
All right. Now talking about the characteristics of permanent tissue, just like how we discussed the meristematic tissue, now we'll discuss the features of the permanent tissue. Now see, the cells, they have lost the power of division, meaning they do not divide. These cells, meaning the cells of the permanent tissues, they do not divide anymore. They have a definite means fixed. So they have a fixed form and size. What they do is that they carry out a very specific function. They do not carry out every functions of the plant's body. They carry out very specific function as they are fully differentiated, meaning they are permanent, right? Meaning they have been modified to perform a common function. So we call them, like, they perform a specific function. Now, the permanent tissues can be living or they can be dead also. Both the kinds of tissues are found under permanent tissue. Then, if you might remember, I told you that meristematic tissue, they have a thin wall. But here, the permanent tissues, they have a very thick cell wall present. The permanent tissues, since they are not dividing, so they have large vacuoles present. And in the meristematic tissue, we saw that they may have a vacuole or they may not have a vacuole, isn't it? So these are the various characteristics that the permanent tissues have. Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Anything you people want to ask?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
All right. Now you people can note it down. And like the rest of the students, you just have to wait a little while till Safia notes it down. Okay. Safia, you can start writing from the characteristics of meristem. Okay. And those of you who have any points left, you can check in your notebooks and write down if you want to. And then you wait. Okay. Now all of you, you can switch off your videos and write down comfortably.
Ma'am, can you scroll down? Ma'am, can you scroll? Ma'am, can you scroll? Ma'am, can you slow?
Everyone's done, student? All of you are done, students? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
From here we have to note down, right?
Yes, did you people write down the intercalary part?
Yes, ma'am, we wrote this in the last class into gallery registry.
Okay, so from here, all of you have to write down.
Okay, ma'am, thank you.
Ma'am, finish.
Everyone's done?
No,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Just
Okay, okay, I'm waiting. Done, students?
yes.
Ma'am, what is that after it is the process?
After that, it is written, it is the process of taking up a permanent shape, size, and function. Taking up.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, done, ma'am.
Everyone's done?
No, ma'am,
No,
just a
ma'am.
minute.
No,
Okay.
ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Yes, everyone's done?
Yes, ma'am. Done, ma'am.
Ma'am, just 2 minutes.
Done, students?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am. Ma'am, only this much.